So the NHL Playoffs have been in full swing for quite a while now, but we need not forget the many teams enjoying the beautiful sport of golf for about a month. The only time these eliminated franchises need to worry about are on the tee, watching in envy on the couch as their seasons fell apart due to a litany of reasons. Maybe they're in a rebuild. Maybe they're kicking and screaming into one. Or perhaps they simply collapsed down the stretch. I will say, if they yearn for the taste of playoff hockey, may I suggest something that could get them there? You know all too well I mean the glories of SeatGeek, the sponsor of this video. With playoff tickets at a premium, the resale market is buzzing and will continue to be so. SeatGeek's been my app of choice to get me to any event that I desire for over a decade at this point. And I've never been led astray. It helps me get a view from where I could be sitting, plus all tickets are verified for authenticity. The code TREE may not help certain franchises get closer, but it can help you save $20 off your first purchase. Isn't that what it's all about in the end? What was I going on about again? I got lost in all the SeatGeek prose and poetry. Oh yeah, the 16 eliminated teams.
I'm sick and tired of this. We're never gonna score.
So it's finally happened. Flames ownership has heard the relentless screaming of fans and management for years on end. They finally submitted, accepting the need for a deep rebuild from the damn studs. Who knows what could have led to such a revelation? Perhaps it was the fact that they would fumble scoring on a hooker. Such poor chemistry they couldn't match shapes. Matt Coronado, their lead scorer on the season, had 45 points. Their record low from a leader by almost double digits. They didn't have a 20-goal scorer on the roster until early April. Dustin Wolf spent the whole season praying he'd get some damn support while being shelled artillery-style in a trench near the German border. Which is how we get to the inevitable dismantling and shotgun fire save. Old stalwarts being moved on from at rapid speed. Dawson Kadri and Mackenzie Weegar got nice hauls at the deadline. Rasmus Anderson got a damn good return for being a rental. Blake Coleman and Zach Whitecloud will likely be next to go in the offseason. Jonathan Huberdeau, you're probably stuck with him, but the fact that they even considered shedding talents is a step in the right direction, even if Dustin Wolf and Devin Cooley are squandered. The good news is that they have a really nice prospect system, which probably still includes Zane Perrick, as archaic junior league rules stated he couldn't go to the AHL due to age. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a few years before they're ready for a realistic harvest. Get ready to learn Landon Dupont and Maddox Schultz, Calgary. You're going to be trying for those guys in the lottery the next few seasons.
Mission failure.
Oh no! Anyway.
So are you going to try to make any form of progress with your rebuild, Chicago? I see the top draft picks. I see the moves made in vain. I even see Connor Bedard trying to carry this team to no avail. Anton Frondell's arrived to give him support. But you'd think there would be some form of clutch play or improvements in defense or something? 28 blown leads? This is supposed to be development? Of what, fucking poisonous botanicals? Team stalling out Kevin Korchinski style as more pieces around the team are traded off. Mostly to Edmonton. There were two arcs to Chicago's season. Connor Bedard before his injury, and Bedard after he came back. Is he ever gonna find competent line mates, or is he doomed to the likes of Green and Burakovsky? It's like Pasternak in Boston, but with somehow even less talent around him than David. Spencer Knight looks promising in net, but being surrounded by those parking cones every night? You'd be better off trying to gerrymander in an election year. The Blackhawks need to start showing progress. I don't know what Kyle Davidson's vision is supposed to be, but unless there's improvement on the way, he's about to be roasting on an open spit. Still better than Stan Bowman, though. Somewhere in the United States, Bill Simmons is running the most pompous victory lap imaginable. Blue Jackets merely exist to serve a heaping dish of misery to the poor souls that we call a fan base. It began in the early game. Despite endless high draft picks and skilled players, they fell flat at the starting gate. Dean Evison threw everyone in the doghouse by the end. Even himself. So many chokes and blown third period leads, it was honestly impressive to witness. Same goes for the third comeback for Rick Bowness. With that new coach boost, the Jackets had the heater of all heaters. One of the best teams in hockey for months on end, surging to contention in no time at all. Buying Connor Garland's impending contract at the deadline, too. You should know this comes with an asterisk in Columbus. It's tradition. When the pressure started to turn up on the Jackets, when their best was needed to secure a playoff spot, one with nearly a 9 in 10 chance of happening in late March, they instantly shat the fucking bed. The whole team imploded. It was an amazing sight to see as an outsider. Watching this irrelevant organization revert into the glorified enhancement talent they are. Just contract the fucking franchise at this point. I don't know how many more tragedies they have to endure. Coaches and GMs to spit out and talented players buried alive just to thrive elsewhere we need to see. Kent Johnson and Dmitry Voronkov are next on that list, so have fun in Pittsburgh or something. Bowness was beside himself, preaching fire and brimstone to these Blue Jacket sinners from his pulpit to end the year. Gore tried to counter his accusations, but the results speak for themselves. Despite the cratering, he promised a culture change for this worthless sack of losers, so the men in charge have granted an extended stay for Rick. 2 words Columbus should learn this summer. Bag skates. And a 6x6 for Charlie Coyle. At age 34?
Did Olga tell you the good news?
Doug's in the astronaut program.
I'm going to Mars!
This was a critical year for the Yzer plan. Even the most casual fans knew it. The bare minimum for success was a playoff berth for the first time in a decade. And Detroit failed miserably. The first few misses, fine, we could deal with it due to the trademark name cultivating a deep rebuild, but this? The Wings were supposed to be a contender for the Atlantic? To be fair, they were for a good while. Hell, they were close to leading the damn division around the Olympic break. The young core finally showing strides. Complementary skill from proven stars and hired guns. John Gibson returning to prime duck form in his new home. So far, so good, but March has always tended to be the roadblock for the modern Wings. And you collapsed again! Congratulations, Detroit, you fell for the catnip of correcting a mistake with another one and ended up with the NHL's version of Chris Ballard. Stevie can identify talent, but he can't build a team. What the fuck is he doing with his defense? An extension for mid-30s Ben Sherratt and trading an unprotected first plus for Justin goddamn Falk? Great, what's gonna make next year any different? Yzerman's got Teflon thanks to Mr. I's wife and Chris Illich being allergic to spending money, so no change is being made. If at first you don't succeed, it wasn't a real Yzer plan. Then you try again, but it wasn't a real Yzer plan. Then you try again, but it wasn't a real Yzer plan. Then you try again, but it wasn't a real Yzer plan. Then you try again, but it wasn't a real Yzer plan. Then you try again. We should have seen the season-ending injury to Sasha in camp as far more than an inconvenience. It was the beginning of payment for 3 consecutive cup appearances. No matter the talent a team has, the injury gods will always collect their pay. Matthew Tkachuk elected for off-season surgery and was out for months on end. Seth Jones would end up being taken out before the Olympic break, ending his year. Eetu Luostarinen suffered a barbecue accident, knocking him out for a time. The Rat King himself was ripped to injury by a rabid dog. Aaron Ekblad somehow wasn't hurt for more than 10 games. Sam Reinhart, Noshak, Erod, Mikkola, Lundell, anyone you could chuck a damn stick at. Buried in a mass grave of 541 man games. That's not an exaggeration. The Panthers lost nearly all of Gustav Forsling's entire goddamn career in one season. You don't survive that. Just ask Vegas in 2022. It goes down a lot easier after winning back-to-back cups, but you kinda want to defend your title. It's the joy of hockey itself. Everything went to shit in Sunrise like Bobrovsky did this year. When we say throwback, we don't mean your first few years as a Panther, Sergei. Florida wants to bring him back, but how much gas does he even have left in the tank? The prospect reserves and draft capital are all but gone, especially since their 2026 first rounder goes to Chicago. Wait, sorry, that one's apparently top 10 protected. That shit just came out of nowhere, didn't it? Cue the allegations of Bettman rigging everything for Florida yet again.
Do you have the right time, old man?
Well, at least it wasn't a complete shithouse like last season. I'm guessing that having no expectations helped a bit in that regard, but nobody really took the Preds seriously. Especially in the community. Quite frankly, they overachieved for what they are, mainly due to vets finding some extra juice left in the reserve tanks. Minus Marchessault and Shea. So the result is the mid-tier group you see here. I think at the end of the day, Barry knew he was out of place as an executive. He gave it a try, but the Phil Jackson phenomenon cursed him wholesale. Trotz is stepping down whenever the next GM is crowned in Smashville. Well, eventually, I think. Would making the playoffs really have changed anything? They nearly made it to the dance, but that was more due to elements outside of Nashville instead of the team itself. Preds might have taken Colorado to 5 games or something, to be fair. Closing another forgettable year in the books. Let me make this as clear as possible to whomever's next in charge here. This is your ceiling. Unless 1,000 miracles are bestowed upon you, the Preds remain an aggressively mid-franchise with the core in their early to mid-30s. You have an interesting prospect pool with the top 5 pick in last year's draft hopefully on the way. Dismantle and get younger. Oh, you already started at the deadline with most of your bottom 6 in depth pieces. Good returns for them, too. Barry Trotz thought he could build a team in his image, and it backfired without the main guy responsible for it coaching the roster. Andrew Brunette isn't exactly that, especially without Jussi Saros bailing them out at every given opportunity. He didn't really do so this year either. Quite frankly, I could see them trying to run it back again due to having a bunch of guys they can't really trade and pray to the altars of Brady Martin, Ryan Upko, and Matthew Wood. Especially if they choose Tom Fitzgerald as their next GM. Fan base is gonna need a hell of a lot more than a beat-up car to smash.
You've won absolutely nothing. A lifetime supply of nothing.
Years from now, textbooks are gonna use Tom Fitzgerald's reign of the New Jersey Devils as a case study on how to utterly mangle a sports franchise. To take what should be a playoff contender in every sense of the word and mold them into an acidic disaster class of aging injured parts at every turn. Witness the Fitzgerald magic as team scoring magically disappears. Gaze at the inconsistent goalies he threw money at to be even worse than that during the season. All these ailments, he's gonna need a volunteer. Say, Jack Hughes, come and press your hand on this table during our team dinner. Ooh, lacerated hand, that's quite unfortunate. Really, at a team dinner? Don't worry, we can cheer him and his brother Luke up with... They didn't get Quinn Hughes? Hope everything's fucked now. That was literally their only plan for the season, and it blew up in their face because their genius of a GM signed everyone to some form of trade protection. I mean fucking everyone. Including the one whole point of Evgeny Dodonov. It's not just the players, the franchise itself is broken beyond belief. They were on the brink of trading Dougie Hamilton for a hot minute, but were hindered by... you know... Tom Fiddles while the Devils burn in hell. Yet I have one question. All those NMCs handed out like candy and Fitzgerald didn't give himself one? It's the oldest mistake in the damn book. How did Tom allow that kind of oversight? You have Newark begging for late-stage Lamorello. You know how dire that is? Good news is the skies are quite sunny. Maida. He was a Devils fan growing up. Come on, look at that starter jacket. He was born to manage this team back to glory. I'd roll up those sleeves, Sonny. You've got some serious wreckage to sift through.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
I'm torn on the Islanders. There's the part of me that sees Matthew Schaefer dominate on the ice and think, maybe this team has some promise in the future. I'll watch Ilya Sorokin do the same in net, buoying a franchise hopes and dreams for better or worse. The Island looked to be rocking well into March. Playoffs seemed to be on the horizon. Then the clock struck midnight. Reality turned this franchise back into a pumpkin, usually in hideously embarrassing fashion. Even with zero expectations going into the year, I get why the fandom's pissed. Shitting the bed in crucial games down the stretch with a god-awful power play? It's just a smack back to reality, despite the strides made. And Darsh's answers to push for the playoffs were by eating Pallett's contract with a second-round bribe, extending Pajot for 3 years, and trucking a first for a mid-30s Braden Shen on the wane? Are we sure Lamorello left for eternal siesta? Lou would definitely be the GM to fire his head coach on a skid with a handful of games remaining. That also happened with Patrick Waugh. Smart call, they canned him before he rage quit again. Instead, they prepare for 2027 with the Peter DeBoer perk, increasing their chances at a deep playoff run by 50% in the first go. This year, however, it's a total waste of Sorokin's Godmo campaign. A lot of pundits are going to see this season as a stroke of genius by Darsh, but I'm wholly unconvinced. The Islanders got insanely lucky. They stumbled into a straight flush on the river with a 2-7 offhand suit. Schaefer turning into an instant MacGuffin bestowed upon them by the heavens itself is merely part of the solution. What they do from here will make or break Darsh and his regime. It's gonna have to start with Anders Lee. Captain's the heartbeat of the team, but he's gonna be 36 in July. Might be time to cut the cord. Don't feel too bad, there's a very intriguing farm system over there. Might be enough to prove me wrong in the end.
Of all the years All My Rangers has been in production in the Big Apple, this was truly one of them. When Chris Drury bumbles onto the scene and starts swinging an axe around for the sake of a so-called culture change, chaos is the only reward. It's like most slop disguised as reality TV. You can't stop looking at a car crash. The rags are the equivalent of the big one at Talladega. Long injuries to Adam Fox and Igor Shishyorkin merely amplified the poorly managed team in front of us at a moment's notice. One absolutely terrible at home for record-setting stretches of time. Bountiful harvest of playoff wheat morphs into breadlines and famine. The likes of Panarin sold off for literal pennies on the dollar. Vinny Trocheck, however, will remain in New York despite being at peak value for reasons of American intangibles. Captain JT Miller may be toxic most places he goes, but he'll whip this team into shape, including the foreign devil known as Zibanejad. The Rangers themselves are a franchise lost at sea. A former contender failing to come to terms with their fall-off and scramble with desperate move after desperate move that digs them further into the hole. Call it a quick hook for a season dead on arrival. Will Sully ever adapt to the modern needs of the NHL? How many more alumni will thrive elsewhere? Why is Chris Drury still employed? We're still trying to figure that one out too. It's why we're getting plenty more seasons of All My Rangers as it drives itself to hell. Prepare for another top 10 pick that will come nowhere close to expectations.
At McDonald's.
We never forget the now closed San Jose Super Wholesale Emporium. Prepare yourselves for the return of the Mac! Lynn Celebrini, emerging from the great hope to a potentially generational player in this new domain. I don't use that term lightly. He's doing things that this league hasn't seen since a young Sidney Crosby 20 years ago. Dude made the Canadian Olympic team and finished 4th in scoring this year. It's a lot like the Connor Bedard phenomenon, but with much more optimism and progress. A young forward core shaping into view with the most random batch of cast-offs, bad contracts, and higher guns the league has seen in about a year or so. Amazingly, with how pathetic the Pacific Pillow fight was turning out, the Sharks had a legitimate chance of getting their asses kicked by the Avs in the playoffs. That obviously didn't happen. But the future looks bright in the Bay Area for the first time in years. Good fortune blesses them at every turn. You honestly can't ask for a better start to a rebuild than Mike Greer's got. And the insane stretch of luck for a team cursed without it marches on. They won the lottery again, jumping up to 2nd overall, and their pick of the litter is theirs. Perhaps a wingman for Mac and Ivar Stenberg? Maybe an elite defenseman? They kinda need D-men over there. It's pretty fucking bad. The goalies at least have a blip of a moment shadowed by insane inconsistency, but they need something on the back end. Good lord, is it dire. San Jose, however, isn't so. They can take this in a lot of different ways this offseason. Now for the soothing sounds of Mac tonight.
I think we found him. Look very close. Oh, there he is.
I thought blowing Game 7 in the waiting moments last year was the epitome of pain. This season did a damn good job of getting very close to such woe. It felt like every game pre-Olympic break was a creative exercise in finding hilarious and back-breaking ways to lose hockey games. I mean, this team did blow a 4-goal lead. Twice. And a 3-goal advantage on top of that. Boasting an offense featuring drought rivaling Death Valley, Jordan Binnington melting down at every given opportunity, and a Team GSAA of negative infinity, the Blues were doomed from the start. Fortunately, the disastrous goaltending righted the ship after the Olympic break, but by that point, it was merely to tease them about a potential playoff escape. Nobody realistically thought the Blues would sing anything but their namesake, but with the weak Pacific, it was within distance. Only to break apart when everything needed to be perfect. St. Louis is stuck in the rut that's weighed them down for many campaigns. The epitome of mid. Too good to fully suck, not good enough to be a true contender. That's why they shipped off Falk and Shin for first-round picks. Parayko would have been included in this, but that no-movement clause kinda hampered things. But now bigger questions remain. What happens with Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou? Do they try down the Parayko well again? Is Binnington boarding a departing flight as well? If you want to reboot, having 3 firsts and a deep draft is a start. Then again, you have to find a way to fix whatever the hell that defense is supposed to be. Finding an ideal match is the real question, but it'll be done under a new hand. Should I say that in quotes? Brad Armstrong's aged out of the GM role, stepping aside in the name of Alex Steen on July 1st. Less of a coup and more training wheels. The Blues are back on them. Again. God forbid they get close to that 2019 high again.
Seattle!
Stop it, you're killing me! People always say that Vegas got an unfair advantage with how they were gifted an instant cup contender. The NHL wanted them to gain a foothold in the Las Vegas market. That's why teams were absolutely brain dead when dealing with them in the expansion draft, they'll cry. Kinda funny how they ignore the Kraken in all of this. It's for the best. If you were to look at how uninspired and bland their moves have been, you'd give up hockey altogether. Wow, Seattle, you managed to get into a half-decent run of form because you were PDO merchants and your goalies were playing out of their mind. Wait, Philip Grubauer went back to Avalanche form? That run masked a major flaw. They're coached by Lane fucking Lambert. You get an uninspired tactical bog where next to no one with a damn can score. It was only Jared McCann shooting out of his mind for a bit and little of anything else. Jordan Eberle still leading the point charge at 35? What the hell are we doing here? Building a core of middle six forwards ad nauseum? It's not just the god-awful penalty kill. You dig deeper and get into the fact that they're having serious trouble developing their elite prospects while Shane Wright feels completely misused. Prepare for him to be traded at depressed value, but not by Ronnie Franchise. His time as a retread is up. He's leaving Seattle incognito before bridge trolls hang him from the pier. Onward to the next set of retreads, be it in free agency and beyond. This organization's gonna fool itself into believing they're a few pieces away from contention, blame injuries to McCann and Jaden Schwartz for their issues, and grossly overpay more guys on July 1st. It's not like that's blown up in their face repeatedly or anything.
I must have talked to different people. We've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
This season was as if the hockey gods themselves intervened. They put their hand on Toronto's shoulder and said, you know what? You've choked enough over the past decade. Let's let someone else have that opportunity this time. Before you know it, the Maple Leafs window slammed shut in their hands faster than William Nylander flicked off a camera. Over the past few years, Toronto's bumbling archaic philosophy saw what Florida did and merely copied the get big and gritty part of their homework. A Brad Treliving-led regime created a team that's slow, plodding, defensively inept, soft, and injury-prone? Holy shit, it's not like he did the same damn thing in Calgary or anything. Toxic culture overtaking every aspect of the organization. From coaching to star players to not standing up for Stolars to the sheer entitlement of ownership trying to squeeze every last dollar it can out of the fans. Harold Ballard screaming himself in his Carlton casket over what the Leafs are doing. It's how you get this absolute disaster. The Leafs didn't simply keel over and die after the Olympic break. They stopped giving a fuck. I don't know if you can even call it a tank. The only big piece that was out at the end was Austin Matthews. Selling off all they could at the deadline at depressed value. Outstanding work by Brad Treliving indeed. Get the fuck out and never return. The Chief ended up getting scalped a few months later for a job poorly done, only symbolizing Toronto's death spiral. Even Austin's having second thoughts about staying here with all the bloat and blight. It forces an organization to look within. The incompetent Keith Pelly soul-searching and comes to an epiphany that maybe, just maybe, the way he's running the Leafs will lead them to ruin. Or they can bullshit their way to the first overall pick. So how are they gonna fuck this up? The NHL's version of gifting the Mavericks Cooper flag is merely a band-aid on a collapsing foundation. More high-end talent ain't fixing all this shit. Especially with the new regime consisting of Matt Sundin and Sean Shaika. Oh my god, what? You brought in his snake oil version of analytics? Did you not see how bad he was in Arizona? Oh my god.
Some people think Quinn left here because the team wasn't any good. He was leaving anyways, okay?
Okay, Vancouver, so everything's gone to complete shit and the season wasn't on ice Tenerife. Don't worry that they have no scoring or defense or team health or adequate prospect development. All they need is a new set of forwards, a rejuvenated defensive core, and Elias Pettersson who gives a shit, a Thatcher Demko that can stay healthy for more than 3 months at a time, and Quinn Hughes They traded Quinn Hughes. Oh, well, he wasn't signing here anyway. Jim Rutherford said so? Really, JR? Why the fuck are you saying this, you dumb sack of... Don't think about rioting in the streets about Aquilini's pure ineptitude as an owner as they drag a dead horse down Hastings. Family members suing him? Kicking out a reporter for the dastardly crime of reporting the truth? All fake news. They're considering a rebuild. There's progress being made already! It'll morph into a retool with hybrid thinking or whatever fucking buzzword they come up with in no time flat. It'll begin with Elias Pettersson that's potentially out the door soon and Patrick Allvin burned as sacrifice to some distant pagan god. The only thing that would twist the knife more is if they lost the lottery despite being the worst team in the league by a country mile. They lost the lottery. Get the fuck out, JR. The only person that shot him in his grift was himself.
Listen, don't you worry, pal. You had a good run. Enjoy your retirement.
When you find lightning in a bottle, you don't know how long that magic is gonna last. Maybe it leads to something more permanent down the road, but more often than not, that spark is fleeting. Everything you try to bring it back just won't be enough. That fade out results in a fate worse than a quick death. The realization of your mortality. The Capitals dealt with this unfortunate reality in more ways than one. Fans can cope that a lot of it was due to the Pierre-Luc Dubois injury, but that doesn't explain nearly everything else taking a step back as well. A team with Ovi ripping howitzers is sluggish on the power play. Unable to win most shootouts in 1-goal games? It was undoing by 1,000 paper cuts. The furious push at the end to try and sneak into the dance was too little too late. Ongoing sins have called for the piper, and he's come to collect on overdue payment. It's near the end, my friends. Remnants of the old core fleeting into the annals of time and space. John Carlson was first on the docket, shipped off on the first train to the West Coast in a Ducks playoff run. Ovi may be next. He's gonna be 41 in September, you know. And he wasn't exactly happy with their deadline. Does he get wooed into playing another year in the Metro or go off to Russia Pavel Datsyuk style? It's a bittersweet end in that case. The modern version of the New Orleans Saints is their legacy, but they do have the cup to cherish. I still credit Chris Letang and the Blue Jackets royally choking for that, but perhaps the new wave of talent can pick up the slack. Afterwards, all that remains from the smoke is the last man standing. Tom Wilson. Well, things can change in a year, eh? This time 12 months ago, the Jets were riding the high of an improbable comeback and the highlight of their franchise's existence with Game 7 triumph. Now Winnipeg's back to crash landing their organization in the Red River as usual. This President's Trophy curse seemed to linger a lot longer than usual. Although knowing the Jets and their history, it may just be tradition. Kind of hard to get back to the playoffs when you only have about 3 or 4 guys scoring with any sort of regularity. You can't turn line changes off in this league, boys. If players ain't showing up, you can't win. Even Hellebuyck being out for a month isn't enough to excuse this mess. The second half of the year finally showed the life that they had last season, but like the Caps, it was too damn late to matter. All it showed was an alarming lack of youth on the roster and an inability to replace Nikolai Ehlers. Did you seriously expect old man intangibles or Gustav Nyquist's one goal to do so? You're just getting futility in another Crossroads offseason. Remember the rule in the True North. When you think it's bad, it gets even worse. Connor Hellebuyck's tired of carrying this franchise to any sort of relevance. He's pissed at the insane levels of complacency throughout the organization. The taste of Olympic gold and real victories made him ravenous. And it's a shot right across Shovel Dayoff's face. How long is this guy gonna survive with so little to show from it? 15 years in Manitoba and his farm system's all but a wasteland now. Don't give me the, oh, nobody wants to go to Winnipeg spiel. Do you think anybody wanted to play at fucking Sunrise until recently? When you fail to hit in the draft, you're going to fail. Simple as that. I honestly don't know what you do if you're Winnipeg, to be honest. Pray?
And the gloves come off. It's going to be Domi and Gudas. So just one fight. And Max Domi, in the fence of the captain, is teeing off. Is he ever? And Max Domi gets more than a measure